Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unfoodable Feature. I'm your host, Layla Harrison, and today we'll be discussing Sudden Coffee because as most of you know, we love featuring innovative products on our show. Sudden Coffee is a food tech company who is changing the instant coffee game. Today, I have the privilege to speak with co-founder and CEO, Josh Zloof. Josh, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for joining us. I'd love to kick off this conversation by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of introduce to us Sudden Coffee, who you are, what you do. Let us learn.
Yeah, totally. I'm one of the co-founders of Sudden Coffee. So we make the first ever single origin specialty instant coffee. We take really, really high quality beans, something you might find at a specialty cafe, and then we brew it and we freeze dry it. And so Sudden Coffee comes in, I'll show you guys a little test tube, and it's basically really, really awesome coffee. All you do is mix it with hot or cold water and stir it, and you have a super tasty cup of coffee.
You know what, kind of expanding on what you said, can you tell us a little bit more about like the science, the technology? How do you make your instant coffee?
Yeah, so we've been at it for about 3 years, and we really had to reinvent the way instant coffee is made from the ground up.
Right.
We started out by, so regular instant coffee, they use commodity level coffee beans. It's brewed up to 5 times because they want to squeeze out as much out of the coffee bean as possible. And that's actually a bad thing because the coffee bean's mostly made out of wood. And so you end up with these really woody, bitter flavors. And then after that, they use this heat-based process called spray drying. And they use that to dry it out, and that loses a lot of the aromatics. And so what we really had to figure out was, number one, how do you brew coffee at scale in a way that is really gentle in the same way that a pour over French press is actually really gentle. And then number two, we set up a way to freeze dry it. Freeze drying locks in all the aromatics. And at the beginning, of course, we use really high quality beans. We work with some of the best roasters in the country. And so that trifecta ends up with something that's super, super tasty. And yeah, we make everything in San Francisco. It's made in our factory right behind me. And yeah, that's basically how we do it.
That's really awesome. Definitely a different process. How long would you say it takes?
The brewing itself can be done in a couple hours. And then the freeze drying happens in small batches, similar to baking cookies one batch at a time. And so we'll do that over the course of a week. So we brew one really large batch of coffee, and then we freeze dry it in small batches and then package it out. So all of that takes about 2 weeks.
How do you pick your beans? Is there like certain criteria that you use in order to find which beans you're going to roast for your coffee, or how does that work in correlation to the rest of the process?
Yeah, so we only use specialty single origin beans. And so what that means is our beans are all bought from a single farm. It's really similar to working with a winery. And so depending on the specific region and the farm and the soil and how it was grown, they're all going to taste really different. And so if you taste one batch of Sudden Coffee and another different coffee that we brew, one might be fruitier, one might be more chocolatey.
Of course.
And then overall, so we get our beans from other roasters. We work with companies like Intelligentsia, Equator, Ritual, and they're companies that are really values oriented. We make sure that the farms are getting paid fair wages, that there's a lot of transparency in the supply chain. And that for us is really, really critical as part of it. For us, it's really all about the taste. I think the difference between Sudden versus not just instant coffee, but a lot of coffees that you'd get at just a shop around the corner is it's going to taste naturally sweet. You don't necessarily need cream and sugar. And the flavors are going to be really different from coffee to coffee, which is really special. I think a lot of folks in the country don't have access to specialty coffee like that. And I think that makes it really special.
So with that being said, I'm going to try the medium roast coffee that we have here. But first, let's take a look at the packaging. I love the orange. Definitely eye-catching for starters. Another really cool thing about the packaging is you get a little, a tasting note with it, kind of a description of what to expect, what you're going to be tasting.
A big part of the experience for us is to give you a little bit more information about the coffee, the story behind it, where it was grown. This particular coffee was roasted by Equator Coffee in San Francisco. It's called Los Pirineos. It's from El Salvador. And that's a big way that we like to connect with folks. It's different than what you'd get if you were getting a traditional instant coffee. We want to show you where it's from. We want to make it as transparent as possible, and we want to leave you having learned something about coffee.
That's incredible. I like the tubes. They're super transportable. I feel like I can stick one of these in my purse, and in between running around, if I needed coffee, I just need hot water, right?
Yeah, so we really put a lot of thought into the design and where people use our coffee, and we wanted to make it as easy as possible. A lot of folks use it at work. Our goal is to make it so that you just can't screw it up.
I just pour it into some water and stir it, and I'm good to go?
Yep, exactly. So
Perfect.
You can put it in hot or cold water.
Okay.
Just stir it and see what you think.
Now, do you recycle these?
Yeah, exactly. So all of our packaging is fully recyclable. It's not like other options out there like K-cups. It's made of polypropylene plastic, just like similar to a Coke bottle. So Just drop it in the recycling bin.
Really cool. Well, I would definitely not know it's instant coffee. And then as soon as I tasted it, it was mild. It was a very good blend of flavoring. It was kind of sweet, not too strong in any sense, but very enjoyable. And I honestly feel like I could drink this without any creamer or sugar, and that's actually the kind of coffee drinker I am, so that's a big step for me.
Awesome.
It's a huge inconvenience to have to go sit through a drive-through line at Starbucks or, just wait for your coffee when you can have it right in your purse or your bag or whatever, and you're good to go. And it's super tasty. I guess my last question for you is, what does the future growth of Sudden Coffee look like? Any future plans or goals that you have in mind?
Yeah, so we're now just starting to work with a whole bunch of different roasters around the U.S. And so we're making co-branded versions. So you'll start to see Sudden. It'll be in the same tubes, but they'll have different labels on it. There are going to be a lot, many more options and a lot more flavors to choose from. And you'll start to see it in retail stores like Whole Foods or Safeway at a much more affordable price. And so all of those things we're really, really excited about, and it's all been happening the last couple months.
Wow. Well, I'll definitely be on the lookout for all of those big changes to come your way. But in the meantime, where could, another consumer find more information or purchase some of your coffee?
Yeah, so you can find it on our website, suddencoffee.com. You can find it at Amazon. And you can also start to find it at grocery stores at your local grocery store. So that'll be happening over the next couple of months.
Awesome. And it's suddencoffee.com, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And for folks watching the show, there's a discount code FOODABLE for a little treat when you check out.
Awesome. And of course, any of our viewers, if you have any show ideas, comments, or would just like to send us a message, you can always do so at producer@foodabletv.com. Josh, thanks so much again for joining us.
Thanks again for having me.
Of course. My name's Layla Harrison. We'll see you next time.